Hi, very good morning. It's Jane from Avstar. I thought, being it's been 3 weeks, guys, we'd jump in and do a latest positioning of the magnetic North Pole. So we've whipped the SD cards out of the Trimag system today, and we've done that for you. And, you'll see straight away, because I know you guys are impatient. You want to have a look how many miles it's done in 21 days, or just over. And the total is 3.41 miles. So, still tracking northeasterly towards Russia at the moment, and the rate is slightly increased from what it was last year. So the latest latitude and longitude, if you're following it on your Google Earth's map yourselves, is starting with the latitude 81 degrees 17 hours 43 minutes 82 seconds north by 111 degrees 37 hours 31 minutes 54 seconds east. And that's your latest magnetic pole position. What I'll do for you, just so it puts it in a bit of more clarity for you, so you get an idea of actually what's going on, I'll just zoom out. I'll just save these first so we don't lose the pin marks. And I'll zoom out so you can see where we are actually tracking. You see it's done a little dog leg there over the last few months. We have passed the 40 degree mark, heading towards the 45 degree mark, which will be coming into the picture shortly. We'll be coming up just on that. We're about 42 months, I believe, away at the current speed from hitting that 45 degree mark. And it's said the reason why we're talking about these two pin marks, 40 degrees and 45, because during the last magnetic reversal it was somewhere in between 40 degrees and 45 degrees that it actually went through its reversal. Now, put this into perspective, we do a pretty good job of pinpointing the position of the magnetic North Pole there at the Avstar Observatory with the Trimag system. And we've got a 360 degree area. And if you was to put the tape measure around the Earth, obviously it would be 24,000 miles. So to get it within a few miles, or a mile like we do often, we're doing a very good job. Excuse me, I've got a little bit of a cold. I'm sure the COVID's on its travels again around the UK. And I'm a bit nasally, so apologies for that. Some people that are using, just guesstimates that companies like NOAA, I think the British Geological Survey also stopped around about the same time as the other bigger organisations, around the 2015 mark. And some people are saying it hasn't even crossed the mid-North Atlantic ridge yet, and it has. It's well past that now. We are clearly over that. But whilst we was transiting over that ridge in the Northern Hemisphere, we did see some behaviour which I believe was associated to that ridge. And that was, remember, when it slowed down, stopped, and then continued to carry on. So, this is a very fluid situation. It's still moving and it's still migrating, and it should be important to you guys because you live on this earth, for one. And the last time it happened, it was an excursion which was 12,000 years ago. But before that there was a few other excursions, but the main reversals, the last time that happened, was 780,000 years ago. And prior to that, 300 to 350,000 years on a regular interval. So first of all, it stopped for 500,000 years, and it didn't continue in its normal cycle of every 300 to 350,000 years. So there's a reason for that. We haven't figured it out yet. We've got some great ideas, some theories on that. Is, some parts of the magneto that generates the magnetosphere solidifying? And is that the reason for the 500,000 year delay in the completed magnetic reversals? But putting it into a perspective of our timeline, how is the magnetosphere being affected by this? Well, it's weakened between 20 and 25%. It's also what is the cause of these dramatic weather experiences that we're having, and recently in the United States. You know, these devastating floods that happen in such a short space of time, dumping record, even sometimes hundreds of years record rainfall in those regions. And of course, what is it that's really causing the floods? It's the inability of the sewerage systems and water systems that are there that haven't been brought up to date with modern weather. And that's why they flood, because there's nowhere for the water to run off and escape cities, because the infrastructure is too old. They have not updated our infrastructure in cities to cope with these flash floods and record-breaking floods that we get in a short space of time. That's why when we see in countries like Afghanistan, China, especially in the rural areas, because when they have this water dumped down on them, you know, where is the water going to run off from? That's why when we look over countries like that are greening up now on satellite images like Africa, we can see that there is actual lakes now in places where there was deserts. But these are not, these in our history of our earth was not something that never happened before. Of course they happened before, and that's why I say, you know what, you have to these days, more so now than ever before in our history, check before you buy a house if it's on an old floodplain, because just if it hasn't flooded in the last 80 years is not a guarantee that it's not going to flood in the next 100 years. And that can be the difference between having light rains, moderate rains, to having rains that come down that heavy that flood up to your roofline. That's what we've seen in the US over the last few weeks. Now, guys, I could do videos every single week in different countries all over our world where these floods are taking place. What would be significant about that? I'll tell you. They've blamed all this climate change on one thing, CO2 and global warming caused by CO2. But it's not. What is the biggest greenhouse gas in our atmosphere? By far, it's water. And what causes the water vapour to form in our atmosphere? Well, that is related to the magnetic pole reversal. And what we're getting through our magnetosphere, first of all, is an increase in cosmic rays. And they allow seeding platforms for condensation of water droplets to form. And of course, we end up with more water in the jet streams. And that's why when we look at the jet streams, we see the fragmentation of the polar jet stream in the northern hemisphere and the fragmentation of the tropical jet stream. And when hot and cold come together, you get precipitation at alarming rates. And depending on how big the fragmentation is of these and where those fragmentations come together, depends on whether you're going to get, you know, historic snowfalls, if it's in the higher upper atmospheres, and if it's in the subtropical regions, you're going to get incredible flash floods, dumping record amounts of rain. And that's the simple science behind this. But they can't tax a broken magnetosphere or a weakening magnetosphere. It's impossible. But what they can do with CO2 is blame that, because guess what? Humans add a small smidgen of a tiny amount of CO2 to the atmosphere when we burn fossil fuels like coal and gas. Now, we all want, don't we, cheaper electricity. We deserve it. But we're not going to get it as long as these energy companies are being told by the governments and being penalised by the governments that if you do not convert to a more greener production of energy in the future, we're going to fine you. So they're saying, well, if we're going to build wind turbines and generators and we're going to add solar planes to, you know, usable agricultural land, which is crazy because that's going offline, then it's going to cost more than what it would for us to take the gas out the North Sea or other parts of the world. So what we're doing is, rather than using our own gas and oil, say in the UK, which we could do, we're buying it and exporting it from other countries, which means it's got to go on tankers and ships and it's got to be brought here. And what is the carbon that is going into the atmosphere, running the gas and oil around the world by these huge tankers, compared to what it would be if we piped it from our own North Sea gas oil reserves. You see, we could have cheaper gas, cheaper electricity right now, but because there is this massive support by the United Nations countries in our world, they are going to keep us tapped to the CO2 creating global warming. And it's because we are pumping all that CO2 into the upper atmosphere. And then you get I'm sure MI5, MI6 backed organisations like Extinction Rebellion going out there, getting in the news media and in the mainstream headlines, supergluing themselves to the walls, the roads, in our cities, causing trouble for all of us, causing congestion in our airports, threatening to go onto the runway and superglue themselves to it. It's insane. You know what? If they had a brain, Extinction Rebellion, do you know what they would do? They would superglue their hands to the front door of the Chinese embassy, because they're one of the biggest polluters in our world right now, opening up new coal and gas power plants every other month. So, compared to our little tiny country and our small population of people of about 65 to 70 million people, Extinction Rebellion would rather superglue themselves to our roads and streets and not to the embassy of the Chinese, when they've got a population of nearly 1 billion, I believe. It's just peaked over 1 billion people, and they are producing 12 to 13, maybe 14 times more CO2 than us. Yet Extinction Rebellion are that clever, they want to blame the English and the British for producing and polluting all that stuff. Now, we all know now that it's a scam. I think I've cleared that up in this video for you. We started with first of all, the position of the magnetic North Pole, why that is causing climate change, and noticeable climate change. I don't need to tell you. If you want to go searching floods around the world, anytime you want, do it, because every week you will find record-breaking floods. Increases in hurricanes, tornadoes, all those sorts of things. And of course, the driver behind all that is the magnetic pole reversal, plain and simple. You've noticed, I bet you've noticed, if you're a little bit older than the average person that are on our channel and subscribe to YouTube, you will have noticed in the last 35 years the massive changes in our climate. Well, it's just by coincidence, maybe not, that the pole has travelled more in those 35 years than it ever has done in the last 10,000, 12,000 years. And that's the reason why we're getting the climate change as we are. Guys, I would bring you these reports a little bit more often if we got a bit more support. And there's two ways you can do it. There's a link down there for the PayPal, and there's also a link there for you to join us on Patreon. And as we are the only still YouTube channel and website with our own equipment monitoring this, that should be the only reason you'd want to help support us, because none of the other channels have got it. They all run this channel down, I've noticed, and I've stopped responding to it now. I just don't get involved. They're still sending emails, but they don't realise them emails go straight to my junk, and I never read them. I just see, oh, there's David Morale, there's another fall from Canada. I don't even read them no more, guys. And the reason why they attack us is because they know I'm damn right. We are the only ones with our own equipment. We've invested time in building that equipment, and it's a lot of this stuff is bespoke and would cost a fortune to build. And that's why we say, if you can support us a little bit more regular, we can bring you more updates on this, because we could talk about magnetic related climate change every day of the week if we wanted to. And you guys know I've been doing this now for over a decade, and I'm very knowledgeable in the topic of geomagnetics. So there's a link down there. I'd love you to support us, get behind us. Why not? And with that, I will say, enjoy the rest of your day, take care of your loved ones, as always, bye for now.